Hey there, everybody. We are so excited to be able to have you here for FunnelHacker TV. Look, there is an amazing speaker that we get to speak to today who's speaking at Funnel Hacking Live. Susan couldn't be on with me. Laura was like, if I could be on, this would be the episode. And so we're going to show you exactly what's going on. Stick with us. Let's roll the intro.
We are part of an underground group of entrepreneurs that you've probably never even heard of before. We are funnel hackers, and these are our stories.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Funnel Hacker TV. My name is Ben Newton. Today we have
Laura Demetrius.
Yes. Laura is always on the CF radio podcast. So if you guys are listening to the ClickFunnels podcast, she is over there constantly dropping value, interviewing a lot of the same people that we do. But this is one that she couldn't just sit on the sidelines for. And we wanted to invite her on. And so normally we're like, go check out all Funnel Hacker TV stuff. Ignore all that. Funnel Hacking Live is happening. And today's speaker is really, really cool. Laura, can you just like tell us your story behind this speaker? Because it's semi-influential.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you said, Susan couldn't be here today, which is a bummer because we love Susan and she's so great at doing these interviews. But when you asked to potentially have somebody else jump on and you told me who the speaker was going to be today, I was like, I'm in. I've got meetings. I go up to that like 2 o'clock mark, but I'm doing it. And I already have questions written down pre even knowing about this. So I'm really excited because I have been reading this author's books for a while. I read, he co-wrote The Gap and the Gain. I'm currently listening to on Audible, 10X is easier than 2X. And I'm just like, I'm taking notes in my notes app. I have notes in my planner. Like I have so many questions about it. I'm really excited. So this is a really, really fun and exciting opportunity for me because I'm a huge fan of his methods, the people that he's worked with, how he coaches people. And it's really, really cool to be here. So
there's
I might have given too much of a tease there, but
it might be. If you guys know who it is, drop it in the comments. It's funny. I've been listening to 10X is easier than 2X as well. And I started to research, and he's written a whole bunch of books other than this that just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, my library is about to get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to get everybody's books. So with that said, shall we bring him on the stage?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Everybody, welcome to the stage, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. How are you, sir? Welcome.
Super good. Thank you so much for letting me hang out here. Thank you for that introduction. Super generous.
Thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Oh, okay. So Russell, I remember when Russell started to realize like how he puts together Funnel Hacking Live in pieces and he's waiting for these right things to drop on his plate. And he's like, that's just right. That's just right. And Mastermind in Paradise is an event that happens in Mexico. It's for the coaching customers and for people that are in the mastermind programs. And he invited you out to speak. And I kind of want to know, what was that story like of him just beginning to reach out, that relationship building, and then him asking you to speak first at that event, which is like the testing ground for Funnel Hacking Live?
I did not know it was a testing ground. So I'll give a little bit of background. So back in 2015, I started blogging online. My quote unquote 10X future self was becoming a professional author. I had no website, no blog, and I started blogging. But the next year, I did read Russell's book and it really helped me. So like I've known about Russell's work for a while. I read his .com secrets and it's helped me a lot. It helped me to become a professional author in many ways, to grow a huge audience. And so I've known of Russell, and then I met him in a mastermind group that I was a part of maybe like five or so years ago. And so I've known him. We've kind of been in each other's ecosystems a little bit. And I knew that, he read, for example, Who Not How and The Gap in the Gain, like they were semi in these orbits, but I hadn't talked to him a lot. And then after I wrote this book, 10X is easier than 2X, this was like early this year. I knew that was my last book with Dan. And honestly, I was kind of just exploring potential people that I wanted to just connect to and maybe in the future write books with, who knows? But Russell's just one of those people. I'm like, I really want to get to know Russell a little bit more. And so I literally just would like send him private messages on Facebook and just say, how have you been? What's been going on with you? He's like, dude, I've read your books. I love you. What's going on? And I told him about 10X is easier than 2X. And so ultimately the conversations were just like, dude, you should just come out and teach it. The book wasn't even out yet. Like the book, this was like in, I think that the mastermind was in March. The book didn't come out until May, but he's just like, you should come out and teach all this stuff at Mastermind in Paradise and we'll just talk about stuff. And so that's what it was. Like, it was just private messages on Facebook. And ultimately he invited me to come out and hang out.
I love that. I feel like so many people have similar stories too. It's like, it all started with a DM.
Exactly.
And it works every time. So you came out and spoke at Mastermind in Paradise. Everyone was walking away saying, but that presentation though, like everyone walked away with something. And I remember Russell getting into the office and he's like, okay, so I've been implementing Gap in the Gain just the entire flight over. He's like, it's amazing how much momentum I feel in my life. Like I like just how much opportunity like is ahead versus, things have been. And so I'm not going to steal the thunder on the process, but your presentations, and I know you gave multiple while you were out there, really did make an impact. And it's really, really cool to be able to see that the world that you've been in with Dan Sullivan kind of get mixed into our world a little bit. And we get to see some of that. So first off, thank you for sharing. It was absolutely influential. But what were you sharing exactly? Because it seems like sometimes it was Gap in the Gain. Sometimes it was 10X is easier than 2X, which is an amazing book, by the way. Absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you. I mostly was teaching frameworks from 10X is easier than 2X. And even some of the frameworks that are not in that book that I've kind of put together that will be in other books. And so I was just teaching them a lot of like the psychology frameworks of, past self, present self, future self, a lot of identity frameworks. And then I taught them some of the crazy 10X versus 2X frameworks. It was a lot of fun. There was the final session that I did where I taught some of the psychology behind the Gap and the Gain and how to really, what I would call is master your past. Most people don't have mastery over their past. Their past is actually a problem. It's like it's an asset. It's a liability, not an asset. And so that whole book, The Gap and the Gain, is really about developing mastery over your past. 10X is really about mastering your future and your present. And so, yeah, it was fun. I mean, I remember after I finished, and I actually love I did remember talking to you and being like, holy cow, this is long. Because it was 7 days. I was away from my family, and I'm like, one after another. I'm like, this is huge. I know that Russell does everything massive, but like me teaching 3 times, I was like, dude, I don't know if I got anything left in the tank. But I will say that the group is so amazing, like such learners. That I think that's one of the things I love about this group is it is a little bit, every entrepreneurial community has like different energies. And I love the energy of this group. It's like very applied. Like you take stuff, you apply it, you test it, you try it. Like you're always, and that's it's very different from what I've experienced. And so I just loved how fast people like grabbed onto it and immediately started applying it. And I remember the energy in the room was really intense when I was teaching. Like I've never actually taught with an easel board before. That was the first time. And now I love it. Now I like have my own, but like just drawing the pictures and teaching and the energy was really high. And I remember someone afterwards just saying like, I literally feel high. Like they were just like, they're like, literally, I've never, like, I haven't learned stuff like this in a long time, if ever. And they're like, I am high right now. And I was just like,
Wow.
but it was fun. It was like amazing energy, such a good group. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. We have a lot of that in our community, just the energy. They all kind of feed off of each other. And it's funny because they're actually at an event right now at Pirates Cove. He's with Inner Circle. And you can gain that sense of the energy that's happening there just from the content that he's sharing about it. And that's what I just love about ClickFunnels people. It's like they get so excited about a new framework that they can apply to their business as soon as humanly possible.
It's awesome. It's definitely unique and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So then what was it like when he twisted it and said, I have this other event that we go a little bit longer, a little bit harder and make everything even bigger. Would you be interested in speaking at Funnel Hacking Live? What was that?
Oh, yeah, I was not expecting that. We just continued the conversation on our DMs. You know what I mean? After that week in Paradise, and I actually really loved it. Like, I would go back. Maybe I should just join his Atlas group or something. Who knows? But yeah, so we just continued the DMs, and he was getting all sorts of crazy feedback on just people being blown away by the book. Because we actually, here's another crazy story is that this book came out in May, but when you like as an author, I can sometimes get this book like a month early.
Right.
Well, my assistant Chelsea had to break her back. So like these books come to know, we didn't really know that these books are printed somewhere in Minnesota. The printing, we only need to know that because I really wanted, if we could, to get these books into Mexico. very difficult to get them across the borders and stuff like that. My assistant Chelsea did anything and everything. But the literally hot off the presses, the very first printing ever of this book, and literally 24 hours later, we had them there. And so we got literally the very first ever printing of this book, the very first 400 copies ever off the presses, immediately shipped to Mexico, and we had them there. And so like the copies we gave to people there were the first ever printed copies of that book.
How
ever.
special. That's really cool.
And like, a printing is usually like 20,000 copies. So we've gone through multiple printings now, but like those were the first printed ever. But the only reason I say that is just that, are we good? Oh, sorry. Yeah. The first, basically, the presentations weren't really well. They blew people's minds. People got high, I guess you could say. And then they all read the book, and I guess Russell just loved it as well. And so he pretty much just PM'd me, or DM'd me, and just said, I think it was like a month later. He just said, you want to teach that at FunnelHacker Live, or you want to come and teach at FunnelHacker Live? And I'm just like, dude, I live in Orlando. Let's do it.
Perfect.
So I live like 20
right?
minutes. Yeah.
You don't have to do it 3 different times in a week.
Well, yeah. Now it's gonna be fun. I mean, I've actually been to FunnelHacker Live, and I already like know like how crazy that is. And so it was actually a really generous offer, and an amazing. I was very humbled and grateful, and so of course I would say yes to a lot of things that Russell's involved in, but that was awesome. So insanely excited. So it all came through a PM or a DM. What were you going to say? Sorry.
There's a lot of people excited to hear from you as well. So it's exciting to all of the ticket holders already that they get to see and learn from you at that event.
Awesome. It's going to be fun. It's such a cool group.
So I know you've got a present that you're going to give everybody there. I don't know if we want to tease that just yet. Like when you get to Funnel Hacking Live and it's Dr. Benjamin Hardy's day to stand on the stage and to have the easel out and be totally ready, like there will be something for you, but there's something that you can get right now. So here's the deal really quick, guys. If you guys go to funnelhackinglive.com and you grab your ticket in order to join the event, what you're going to get is the full event. You get to be able to enjoy all 4 days. This is a cultivated experience. Is it a rock star party like Dr. Benjamin Hardy was talking about? And it's all revolving around a specific idea called the linchpin and how it works. And how do you actually take authority and step into authority and be able to build and grow your business? And it is going to be an event like none other. If you guys do not have your tickets yet, they always sell out, always. And so our deepest suggestion is, if this is an experience that you've been thinking about, that you've been wanting to learn about, Russell cultivates the very best of the best for a year and brings them all onto the Funnel Hacking Live stage. And that includes Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And you, sir, I think we're giving a bonus to people when they join. I think that's right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one thing I will say, do you want me to say what it is, or do you want?
Yes,
go
for
what it is?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll tell you. I didn't really know about this until before, because I didn't think that Russell would give this away. I'm just kidding. One thing I will say about going to those kind of events is there's a book I read. I'm not aiming to say the name of the book. I'll say it to you if you join. I'm just kidding. No, the book is called Unreasonable Success by Richard Koch. But it's a book all about people who literally changed the world. Like we're talking like Beethoven, Einstein, etc. And one of the things he talked about is that these types of people have like an absurd level of confidence. And I would break confidence into 2 categories, like self-belief and also high expectations for what's going to happen. But that confidence didn't come out of nowhere. It came from the third part, which is what he calls transformative experiences. That the more transformative experiences you have, and that could be doing something you thought was impossible, watching yourself achieve something, but it also could be being in certain environments that totally stretch your view of what you think is possible. And those type of experiences open up your mindset to going for the impossible. One thing I do want to just say before I even say the present is that I really think even before you go to Funnel Hacker Live, and I've been testing this and I've watched crazy things, is that everyone for the rest of this year, you should have an impossible goal. Like this book teaches you the science. Literally, there's a lot of research on why impossible goals are easier. But if you read, check it out. But like, if you're not going for an impossible goal, what that means is that you're stuck in your past because you are going for something that you already think you know how to do. Whereas only by making the goal impossible, where you actually say, I have no clue how to do that. And that finally gets you out of operating from your past and then opening yourself up to the few things that really matter. And so I just invite everyone to seriously, I've been applying this a lot. Like define an impossible goal, something you genuinely believe to be impossible before the end of the year, before the end of 2023. And then ask yourself, that would be impossible unless what? And then there's only a few things that would get you to an impossible goal. So just go for that. We'll share more on that later. But here's the thing that we're giving you is that I guess I did 3 sessions when we were at the Paradise Mastermind. We taught 10X very deeply, some of the identity frameworks. And then on the Midnight Mastermind, I taught some of the insights from this book, The Gap and the Gain, which is just a really beautiful book about, like I said, mastering your past. But I actually, in that presentation, went even deeper beyond the book and taught some of this stuff on like some of the identity models about how you can really master your past. Because a lot of people, like I said, their past is a problem. They don't know how to master their past. They don't know how to expand their past and get more and more out of it. And so you will get that full presentation, I guess. Is that right? That they're going to just get that?
Yeah, the full,
Yeah.
it's like a 50-minute presentation. And
That's
it's,
awesome.
Oh yeah, do it.
and the crazy thing that was powerful to me, like I went and I watched it again before we hopped on because I was like, wait a minute now, is this the one where, and the motivation that this creates, because when you're able to go into your past, you said this, when you go into your past and you expand that, your future automatically expands as a result. Like,
Yeah,
can
one
you
of the
touch on
things.
that
Yeah,
for a
well,
moment?
I'm remembering this talk now, and some of me, like, I remember walking away from that talk, and I actually went in the gap because I immediately realized that there were like I learned so much when I gave that talk. But one of the things, so most people, just to give a little bit of insight into this, and I know that you said Russell was listening to it over and over and over, like right before we flew out to. People are very, especially people who are going to go to Funnel Hacker Live. We all are really excited about that impossible future, actually. But the challenge is that we often measure ourselves against that future. And what me and Dan talk about in this book is that the ideals, the vision that you have for your future is like a horizon in the desert. It's always stretching forward. No matter how many steps you take forward, the horizon keeps going. But if you're always comparing yourself against the horizon and wishing you were there, then you actually start to feel like a loser, even if you've literally gone 10X many times in the past and you're a millionaire, billionaire, blah, blah, blah. Like, and so this book teaches you how to look at your past in different ways, because really how you view your past is heavily going to shape what you expect in your future. And so I remember taking the people in that talk through a really cool exercise, which I'm excited for you to go through that exercise. But usually people, because they're not skilled in this, they're not masterful about their past, they don't know how to squeeze a lot of juice out of their past. I could say, like, tell me the most important things that have happened between now and the beginning of 2023. And obviously you're a community of massive high achievers, and so a lot of things have happened. But even still, you probably would list a few things that have happened. And what I do is I give much shorter and shorter timelines. And once you get better and better at the process of squeezing gains out of your past, by the way, you do that, and then you'll have a much bigger future. But you'll see that you'll get really good at it, such that even in a 24-hour period of time, like I can look back on who I was yesterday afternoon, and I can see insane differences between who I am now and who I was 24 hours ago. And I can see ridiculous progress. And I'm getting better and better at seeing and squeezing that progress. And it just makes for a huge future. And so we'll show you how to do that.
That's so cool. In fact, when I read The Gap in the Gain, there were a few things that stuck out to me. And there's a lot of things, like I have these little notes here, but I still think about A and B regularly, like with anything that I do, whether I'm at the gym or it's in my personal life or it's as a parent or at work. I'm always thinking, like, always measure backwards, because like regardless of how I'm feeling in the moment, I'm still progressing from where I was when I first started this journey. And like, it's so powerful. It sticks with me very frequently. Okay. I do want to ask one question, if I can narrow one down, because I've been reading through 10X is easier than 2X before I let Ben go into the details of what we're going to be doing here. And you talk about a lot of things that are also really powerful about like transactional life versus transformational, which I think is also really cool. Like I actually like highlighted that in my book because I'm like, go back to this. This is huge. Can you give us a little bit of like the framework of how 10X actually is simpler in comparison to 2x when you're just talking about the basics, kind of like trimming the fat and like really like focusing on something? Like what kind of things will we be talking about, and what can people expect to take away from that?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously we're going to go really deep into this, but if you're going to go for 2x of anything, what that mostly means is that you're doing more of what you've already done. So from like a psychology standpoint, what that means is that you're taking the present and you're pushing it into the future. And that's what most people do. Is most people, when they're thinking about their future, they're mostly doing it from the present. And so 2x is very non-transformational, just using the 80-20 principle. And we have a whole model on this and stuff, really simple frameworks. Learn that from Russell. But using the 80-20 model, and if you've heard of the 80-20 principle, you know that 80% of the things you're doing only create 20% of your results. And you know that there's 20% of the things you're doing that have huge upside. And if you're someone who's really learning, you're always looking for those few things that have the biggest upside. That's really what learning is all about, is letting go of the many things that aren't really doing anything for you and finding more and better things and relationships that take you big time. So the main thing here and the main difference is that 2x, if you're going to go for 2x, you can actually keep the 80%, because 2x is not transformational. You can keep 80% of your life right now. Like if I want to double the amount of books I've sold, I can mostly keep doing what I'm doing, but that's not really that effective because it doesn't force me to figure out what the few things are that have the biggest upside. I'm just keeping pretty much everything. And so the opposite is 10x. 10x is so big, back to the idea it's seemingly impossible, that most things won't get you there. Like most things won't help me sell, 10 times more books than I've sold. Almost nothing will work. And that's why it's really effective, is because only a few things will, and those few things have the biggest upside. And so to go 10x, you have to actually get rid of the 80%. And this is what the whole book teaches you how to do. 80% of your life is actually your past self and your present self, but it's not your 10x future self. And so the book really helps you narrow down and simplify those very few things that have the big upside. And then it teaches you how to let go of the things that honestly got you here but won't get you there. Even the great things that got you here but won't get you there. And it helps you clarify the very few things, and then ultimately helps you become a leader, apply other really cool ideas. But it's a very simplifying approach. Bigger goals dramatically simplify everything you're doing, because most things won't get you there.
If you
I have goosebumps. I'm sure that resonated with so many people, but like, I just have to say, I'm so excited for you to go in depth on this, because even like the most simple things about that book were about, you talk about not doing what you've done before. It's like what you've done to get here isn't going to get you there. And it's actually about doing less. Like transformational stuff is actually about doing less. It's just focusing on the right thing. And I think so many people are going to have amazing takeaways from that. And I'm so excited about it. I can't wait.
Well, I mean, if you look at Steve Jobs or even anyone, they apply this. I mean, Elon Musk, one of the things he literally talks about, like I love studying how he thinks. And he talks about how most people, they optimize things that should not be done. And so like the first thing you literally want to do is figure out what must be removed. That's the 80%. You've got to let go of most of the things that are a waste of time. Find the very few things with the upside, and then that's what you get really good at. And, even Steve Jobs, when he went back to Apple, like, he had gone to like Pixar and stuff like that. But when he came back to Apple, Apple was falling apart because they had like 20 different products. And he's like, we need to just find like the one or two that are like doing really well. And he like literally got rid of the 80%, focused on the few things that mattered, and got 10 times better at those. And then Apple became the number one company in the world. And so like, these are just fundamental principles. But there's also just deep psychology in it. And so I'm just really excited to share it with you guys.
Well, and like, so I was telling...
That doesn't sell tickets right there.
I was telling Laura, like at the beginning of the book, just the analogy that you give of Leonardo da Vinci having to constantly reinvent himself.
Oh, you're talking about Michelangelo.
See?
No, you're good. This is no, this is good.
But he doesn't know it's the David, right? It's the David.
David. Thank you.
No, share. No, that intro was a bear to write. No, but what did you like about the Michelangelo?
No, it's
story?
just the fact that he had to reinvent himself every single time. Like, it wasn't just, now I'm going to learn the anatomy like no one else has, and I'm going to be the crazy on the fringe person that does that. And then in order to take it to the next level, what he did and how he reinvented himself again, he never stood on his own laurels. Being able to, like, how you taught that made the entire framework of the book an obvious, like, well, do I want to be the painter on the side of the street? Do I want to be the sculptor who's able to play with clay? Or do I want to be a Da Vinci? And it made the entire theory, it was beautiful. It was really, really cool. So thank you.
That is very generous. Well, I was lucky enough that last summer we took a 6-week trip to Europe. So like I had been thinking about this book for a year or two, but I worked on other projects and stuff like that. But like right before I really went deep, and by the way, chapter 5 of this, and like I'll go deeper on the talk, is all about how to go deep into flow. Most people, they have shallow, like they go into shallow flow, which is like, I can focus for 90 minutes. This book teaches a much deeper model of flow, but I was deep in call it recovery flow, like where I was expanding my mind. And we were in Europe for 6 weeks. And so we went to Rome, like saw the Sistine Chapel, obviously. And like we're blown away by Michelangelo's work on that ceiling. And then I went up to Florence and I saw the David, and I was just like, I have to learn more about this man. And so I just started watching documentary after documentary after documentary and read The Agony and the Ecstasy. And I was like, this is it. Like, I knew when I came back from that trip that I was going to go deep into the cave. And I ended up spending like 5 months deep in the cave writing 10X. But yeah, that is one thing I will just say to this is that 10X is not for everyone. Like it is for those people who are willing to go for the impossible again and again. I know that Russell loves the hero's journey, and like you got the call to adventure and then you resist the call. And I would say resisting the call means you're just continually consuming yourself in the 80% of stuff that is your past, and it's just not getting you anywhere. But if you do it again and again and again, each time you do it, you're a different person. So like you go 10X once, Michelangelo, he creates that beautiful, huge Hercules. And then his next one turns out to be like the Pieta, which is like still one of the most beautiful masterpieces of all time. Then the David, then the Sistine Chapel, then all of a sudden he's an architect, right? And his life is just, and like, I guess that's really the invitation. I'm sure that's Russell's similar invitation is just like, even if you've achieved incredible things, and definitely always stay in the game. Like that's why we wrote this book first, but there's even a full chapter on the gap in the gain in 10X. You can do the impossible again. And obviously you want to stay in the game the whole way. But like, you don't even know how good you can be. Like that's one thing that this whole book taught me is that the deeper you go into the 20%, you don't even realize how good you can be.
I would love to know what it was like for Michelangelo to measure backwards.
Oh my goodness. I mean, to like, when the crazy thing about that is like, he was still living in Florence working on projects, and like, he could go out and like, look at the David, you know what I mean? And it was like in the center hall, and like people came from all over the world. That statue literally changed the psychology of the whole city. Like Florence rebuilt its courage and its confidence because of the David. The David became their symbol.
Wild.
So like, and then the Pope called him and was like, please come and build my tomb. Yeah. And then obviously that ultimately led to the Sistine Chapel. But yeah, him measuring backwards, he's working on the Pope's tomb and like going back and just remembering those 4 years of just covered in powder, like looking at everything and just exhausted of just every little thing on that David. Like, it's gotta be crazy.
Yeah. And thank you for that introduction to that book too, because it does set the stage for everything else that follows. And even the stuff that almost feels a little bit morbid about him learning about biology and like going into the morgue and basically risking imprisonment.
Dissecting corpses.
Yes, it is so fascinating.
One thing I want to say about this is that often going 10X involves doing a lot of really, really deep work on a project. So example, Michelangelo did a lot of deep work for 4 years, even for a year when he made his first Hercules project. But I'll give myself as an example and some more famous examples. Like I did some seriously deep work to write this book, like learned so many things, broke myself. But then the project itself can often take you 10X. Like just as an example, had I not written this book, I probably wouldn't be meeting with you guys. Like even though my other books are great, like I wouldn't be here because the projects can take you 10X. Like I think about like just as an example, like the things that this project opened up for me. Like I'm regularly now training leadership teams of companies doing over $100 million, and like they really need these frameworks to get to $1 billion in revenue. And like I wouldn't have been able to do that 2 years ago, but like the deep deep work and doing deep projects can often take you 10x. And I really even think about the example of like Lin-Manuel Miranda and like, you know, like his incredible, obviously, like Hamilton, like he spent 6 years like making that Hamilton you know, musical. But like think about how that project has changed the world, but also think about where it took his life. Like it literally, that project became a rocket ship to him and opened up so many different things. And so if you're willing to do the deep work and get 10 times better, go into the deep flow, the deep waters, and catch the big fish, you know, those projects can 10x your life. And so we'll definitely teach you guys how to do that at Funnel Hacker
Great
Live if you
perspective. I'm
come.
excited
We'll
for it.
definitely do that.
Yep. Guys, Funnel Hacking Live is the 1% crazy. That's what we're here for, even if we get the names of famous artists wrong in the past. It is beautiful to be able to be here. Thank you so much, and for coming, and for this year is so hinged on changing your business and adjusting it so that way it's set up to grow for the long term. And what is required to do that is a reworking of yourself and a taking on of an extreme ownership and being willing to leave part of you in the past and take up the call and change things so that way you can make the world a better place by changing yourself. It's going to be an event that you do not want to miss. So really quick, when you do get your ticket, here's everything that you get. Number one, you're going to get access to all 4 days. We have the full event. You get access to it. You get to be a part of it. Also, we're going to get you a whole bunch of swag, like bring room in your suitcases. Do not overpack. You're going to have so much swag taken home. It's going to be ridiculous. We're going to give you AI integration. We're going to give you inner circle bonuses. We're going to give you the replays of every single funnel hacking live ever. If you guys want to be able to be caught up, if you want to be able to have an archive of every funnel hacking live, now is the time to move forward. Grab your ticket and be there and be present, because what is coming this year, if you've even got a slight hint, is a calling to be better tomorrow than today, a framework to do it, and how to change the world by going in and then changing the world outwards. Did I get
One
that
thing
right?
I want to say, yeah, you got it right. You got it right. No, one thing I want to say is this. When I was chilling with Russell in the mastermind in Paradise, I didn't know about his linchpin model. And, you know, he gave me a book on it and stuff like that, which he's now presenting out to the world. But he also taught it multiple times. And it changed how I view entrepreneurship. Literally, it reminded me when I was in my meeting with Dan Sullivan. So I was in a mastermind meeting with Dan Sullivan, and he taught Who Not How for the first time. And I literally was shaken. It changed how I saw, even, you know, and I walked up to Dan afterward and I said, Dan, if you ever want that into a mainstream book, I will write it. And that's what led me to ultimately the trilogy that we wrote.
Cool.
I felt the exact same way when I heard Russell teach the linchpin. I was like, I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I was like, dude, Russell, like that needs to be a book. Like I'm talking a major book, like a book like this. Like I'm like, Russell, like it is that good. Like I'm like, that changes the game. I would actually, I'm just telling you blunt, like right here, I would write that book with Russell and we would sell a couple million copies. I don't know if he's up for that, but it's that good. Like I'm serious. I would do that. I'm just saying it out loud. Maybe we'll manifest this into the universe right here. I'm just kidding. But
say it out loud. I can always keep pushing him on it.
It's that good. Like I wanted to write the linchpin book with Russell because it was totally different. And I could actually see that if you started with that mindset as an entrepreneur, first off, your business would probably be exponentially bigger than you're probably making it now, but it does change. It's just a much better approach. And I think most businesses are not made with that framework. And so they're just never that great of businesses. So
we've gotten to see so many people talk about learning about linchpin and like being in the thick of it for several days and seeing their faces and the excitement when they know that it just clicked. Because there's this moment where they're like, I don't know if this will work for my business. I don't know if this applies to me. And then they realize it applies to everyone. It applies to every business. And when that clicks for them, it's just like the trajectory of their business and the excitement on their faces. It just changes.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm glad Russell did the deep work. He went into the deep waters to catch that fish and really understand it, because I do think that that's what's going to take ClickFunnels 10x, is like actually helping people understand that model. And it's going to change people's businesses. Like ClickFunnels has done insane things. Like I said, without some of the insight, I've used ClickFunnels since 2016. Like without it, certainly it's changed many people's lives and businesses. But this insight can really, it will make many billion-dollar businesses because it's that clear.
I remember when challenge funnels was the big deal. That was the big insight that was brought to the market 4 or 5 years ago, and it's spun up and become this thing. This is going to be a whirlwind, and it's going to change so many lives.
Well, I could talk about this forever, but one thing that I just want to squeeze in here as an ask before we wrap this up, because I've been too excited and I have so many other things I would still love to talk about, is Dr. Benjamin Hardy, we have to have you on the podcast. Can you please come on and talk to us soon?
Yeah, let's have a deep dive conversation.
Would love that. Cool.
Let's do it.
That'd be beautiful. Everybody, so really quick, if you don't have your tickets for Funnel Hacking Live, go to funnelhackinglive.com and grab your tickets. There are so many gifts that Dr. Benjamin Hardy is bringing to you, but number one, you do get the replays from the Mastermind in Paradise midnight evening presentation. If you guys want it, it will be inside of that membership area within 24 hours. Make sure that you go and grab your ticket at funnelhackinglive.com. Sir, thank you so much.
Let me just say it. Guys, seriously, I'm just going to say this. I don't get a dime for this. Come to this, have a peak experience, have a transformational experience. It's what's going to help you go 10x or even have unreasonable success in your future. These are the types of things that you put yourself in that room and there's unpredictable things that will happen. Like, come to this event. Your trajectory will fundamentally change as a result. If you come with the right mindset, the right setting, definitely come prepared. If you do come and you fly, as an example, bring your journal. A lot of the prep is what ultimately helps set the psychology, but definitely come. Like, don't wait till next year. Like, this is one of those situations that are just, it's a good, rare opportunity. Obviously, maybe for some of you, it's not the right, but most people, if you're watching this, this is going to change your trajectory. And it's just by putting yourself in that situation, you will not come back the same person. So
it's very true.
Just come. It's worth it. It's worth the investment. It was making some of these moves that I would not be a professional author, nor have done some of the things that I've done had I not, I resisted that call many times, but instead I just went for it and boom, it changed. You didn't come out a changed person with changed opportunities.
Yeah. Get out of your own way. Go to funnelhackinglive.com, guys. We want to see you there.
Yes.
You get to meet awesome
just
people.
Come. This is going to be awesome.
It's going to change your life. We hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Bye.
There are so many people walking around who don't know that they can change the world.
You were born to do something great with your life. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have painful experiences, but all pain is temporary. And if you can survive it, you will meet another version of yourself.
I was just numb. We were racking up credit cards. We stopped paying for our house. We literally were selling furniture out of our home.
I felt trapped and exhausted by my life, and I couldn't see a way out.
I felt like a shell of who I was made to be.
In life, you are most capable of helping the person you used to be. If you used to be broke, you can help broke people. If you used to be broken, you can help broken people.
It starts with you. You hear the call. You feel it. It's beating, it's pulsing. I'm made for something more.
We get scared.
And then fear hits us.
The little voices in the back of our head.
I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. The driven say, no, I'm going to do it. The driven are you guys here today.
More people are finding their breaking point and waking up.
I have a calling. Yesterday I realized I have to do this.
There's a soul here at ClickFunnels.
I felt like I had gone through the wardrobe of the Chronicles of Narnia, and I was just like, what is this magical place that makes billionaires?
I'm going to show you the magic trick that's made me all of my money.
My best-selling framework.
You have to start out closing if you're going to end up closing.
82% of customers trust influencers.
This better blow your mind and allow you to predict the future.
People need aliveness and meaning again.
Who do you want to become? What do you want to felt and experience in this one precious life?
You wouldn't be able to tell, but I ran the New York Marathon when I was 19. Life happened and my mom passed away. One of my daughters had a traumatic brain injury, wasn't expected to live.
When you meet somebody that continues to push through adversity, that is the definition of an entrepreneur. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to sponsor you through this journey. Because everybody deserves an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you.
People feel a sense of belonging here.
It feels like home. It's so encouraging because if they can do it, so can I.
Starts saying, hey, next year we're going to get that.
Russell has a way of teaching that makes success faster.
In my opinion, he's the best marketer who ever lived.
You find exactly what your business is missing.
It's going to amplify every campaign you do.
If you've been thinking there has to be a better way to do this than what you're being told, I'm here to tell you you're right.
People might say you're too young or you're too old or your body's not right or you didn't go to the right school. Then one day, they're telling people how they met you.
FunnelHacking Live changed my entire life because now I know what I'm going to do next.
Your family's going to be blessed. Your legacy's going to be blessed. Movements are about to be birthed.
My story hopefully gave women permission.
If you believe me, stand to your feet.
You do not have to be great to get started, but you have got to start if you ever want to be great.